Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are diving deep into a remarkable chapter of global Black history, the story of the presidents of Liberia, a nation uniquely founded by formerly enslaved and freeborn African Americans. It's a history that often gets overlooked, revealing how the Liberian leadership, born in the United States, shaped Africa's first republic and what that means for us today. When Liberia declared independence in 1847, its early political landscape wasn't dominated by indigenous African leaders, but by a group of pioneers who had traveled across the Atlantic. These were the Liberians, men of African American descent, sponsored by the American Colonization Society, who brought with them U.S. political traditions, Christian institutions, and a distinct cultural identity. Their goal was monumental: to establish a sovereign Black nation. These early presidents are a direct link between the struggle for freedom in the U.S. and the combative establishment of a government in Africa. Let's start with the symbol of that movement. Liberia's very first president, Joseph Jenkins Roberts. Roberts was born free in Norfolk, Virginia. He wasn't just a migrant, he became the face of Black self-governance on the world stage, serving to non-consecutive terms. Think about the significance. At the very moment when slavery was peaking in the U.S., an African-American man was heading a recognized independent nation. Following Roberts was Stephen Allen Benson, who became president in 1856. Benson's story is especially powerful. He was born in Cambridge, Maryland, and was formerly enslaved. His presidency focused heavily on asserting national sovereignty and initiating economic development, firmly rooted in that Liberian vision. Then we have Daniel Bashiel Warner, born in Baltimore, Maryland. Warner, an African-American educator and Methodist leader, deeply entwined the institutions of the church and education with the government, reinforcing the cultural foundations the settlers had brought from America. The presidency of Edward James Roy, starting in 1870, marks another fascinating moment. Roy, born in Newark, Ohio, was an African-American businessman who's the first Liberian president of full African descent, born in the U.S., and he bravely attempted reforms that tried to chip away at the absolute dominance of the Liberian elite. Skipping ahead slightly, we find William David Coleman, who served from 1896 to 1900. Coleman was born in Fayette County, Kentucky, and was also a formerly enslaved African-American. His administration placed importance on education and began the extremely slow nor difficult process of gradually including indigenous Liberians into the political sphere. At the turn of the century, Garrison Wilmot Gibson took office. Born in Baltimore, Maryland, Gibson was a jurist and intellectual who reinforced the existing Liberian political control and legal structures, further solidifying the governance framework they had established. Now, the lineage becomes slightly more complex, but the American ties remain undeniable. When Arthur Barkley became president in 1904, he was born in Monrovia, but both his parents were U.S.-born settlers from Virginia. He represents the first generation born on Liberian soil, yet still deeply connected to that founding African-American heritage. Barkley's tenure focused on expanding the state's authority into the various indigenous regions. Similarly, Daniel Edward Howard, president from 1912 to 1920, was born in Buchanan, Liberia, but came from deep Liberian lineage with family roots in Georgia. Its focus was diplomacy and engaging with the wider Pan-African movement. The list of U.S.-born leaders culminates powerfully with Charles Dunbar Burgess King. Born in Cleveland, Ohio, King became president in 1920. His decade in power was pivotal, but also fraught with tension. His administration faced significant international scrutiny, exposing the internal strains within the Liberian ruling class regarding labor practices and governance. And finally, bringing this distinct chapter to a close, was Edwin James Berkeley. president from 1930 to 1944. Born in Monrovia, he was the grandson of the first president, Joseph Jenkins Roberts. He perfectly embodied the continuity of this specific African-American political legacy in Liberia. What's the overall significance of these U.S.-born founders? They didn't just govern. They transplanted U.S. constitutional ideas, Protestant religious traditions, and a unique Black Atlantic identity into the framework of a new African state. They successfully established Africa's first republic, proving that Black people could govern themselves effectively in a world still dominated by slavery and colonialism. However, this founding vision also created a deep-seated social and political hierarchy. The political dominance of the Liberian class, based on their American origins and culture, fundamentally shaped Liberia's internal ethnic and political dynamics for over a century. It's a heavy legacy, one of founding, achievement, and profound internal tension. These men, born in places like Virginia, Maryland, Ohio, and Kentucky, represent a chapter where African Americans were not just fighting for citizenship, but were actually founders and heads of state on a global stage. It's a unique, complex, and vital part of world history. What do you think about this era of Liberian leadership? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this historical deep dive valuable, please hit that like button and subscribe for more untold histories. Thanks for watching.